안녕하세요. First video of the year 2024. Not first year of 2024. Well, I guess technically it is the first year of 2024. But we're back, and I am going to check out Sunmi's Stranger. Now, this came out in it says October here, but I of course missed it for whatever reason. I'm not sure. It was just everything else that was going on at the time. But let's go ahead and check this out. Now, Sunmi is actually, I haven't heard a whole lot. What I know mostly is from the shows like Nizzy Project and A2K, where her single 24 Hours was covered, right? That's so popular that, everybody knows 24 Hours, you know what I mean? But this will be really interesting just to see, because 24 Hours, I believe that was from, 2013, 2014? It was like almost 10 years ago. So this is going to be really interesting to jump from like the earliest to the most recent, you know what I mean? And I'll be paying attention to see the more contemporary, the trendiest, like what is the sound doing? Is it kind of fitting in with the landscape of the sort of current gen and the more recent releases? Is it adapting to those trends, or is it doing something on its own, like not too preoccupied with the sort of trending qualities of songs? But let's just check out Stranger.
Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. 달리 표현할 수 없어 우리 마치 처음부터 알아온 것 같지, 딱 맞지. Do you feel the same? My darling, come closer. 알아 나도 이건 정말 미친 집 같지. Do you feel the same? Let's cross the line, baby, I don't mind. 묻지마 내 마음, 나 지금 여기 almost there. Hey stranger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. 뭐에 홀린 것처럼 마치 내 옆에 있던 것 같이 굴지. Do you feel the same? Let's cross the line, let me blow your mind. 알잖아 이 밤 잊히다 가면 you can stay. Hey stranger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. I don't know you're stranger, but I do love you boy. 꽉 안아줘 긴 밤 다시는 못 볼 것처럼 baby. I don't care if we go all the way. I gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel.
Oh, losing the practice room here. Okay, so obviously, this was a very like seasonal type of work here because of all of the spooky references, right? Like, there's all kinds of references to like The Shining, and I think The Omen is in there too a little bit. Um, like Slender Man, like all these different. It's a real good use of like horror motifs and Halloween sort of spooky motifs and in the visuals, and in the composition is really wild. It's got, a sort of like an 80s sort of pop type of beat going on in the verse, and then we go into this almost like reggae type of pre-chorus, and then hold on, I'm trying to fix this. Okay, let's see. I'm a little bit in and out of the dimensions here, but that's okay. But we got this pretty strong contrast between all of the different sections, that sort of wild, like tango, like hook that's going on with these crazy dissonant keys going on in the piano sound, right? It's a very, very like diminished sounding chord. It's dun 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 dun, and that sort of forte staccato type of like pounding out these keys, right? And then these big intentional rests, like there's these big half measure just pauses in the sound, right? It's like really abrupt. Even the way it begins, right? It begins on that with this Mr. Strange, right? And it's extremely deliberate. And then it kind of goes into this, like that solid 80s pop type of groove for the verse section. And it just continues to get kind of weird, right? Like it has this strange put together type of composition to it. Almost like a sort of a Frankenstein of a song, to keep with the Halloween sort of themes, right? The sort of spooky kind of themes. It's really interesting visually and the music as well, right? There's a really, really interesting ideas that are being represented here. Sunmi looks fantastic. Like, she almost looks younger than she did in the 24 hours video. Like, I don't know, that's wild. But she sounds incredible. This is a really, really interesting composition. Like this, it's how this is written. Very good choices for the instrumentation and these different sounds that they make. There's something really interesting about that sort of reggae type pre-chorus section that comes around, because you're always looking for upbeats when you have that type of style going. And what's interesting is normally you might get them in like a rhythm guitar part, which does come in near the end, but it would be right at home if it was sort of like a reggae style song. But instead of doing that, we have a bass line that's playing, and then we have percussion. And percussion, what it actually does is it provides an accent on the half beat or on the upbeats, right? On the and, of like one and, two and. And so I've never quite heard it done that way before, but it works. There's enough suggestion there between the percussion and what the bass is doing for that to be more intuitive as far as the style. But
Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya.
this part right here, the opening, so it's a clap that we have in percussion, and it's four on the floor, right? It's 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, and this sounds very contemporary, like and like fourth gen groups, you know what I mean? Like this sounds almost like a trappy type of one of those rap type of compositions. Even the percussion on it, the percussion on that clap sound. This is a very contemporary sound, but it's so short. Like this is the only part that really does that, right?
Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. 달리 표현할 수.
Okay, so I'm trying to count that out. I don't know. I could be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could be doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that fits a little bit better. And so it's about the last beat where those rests come in, and you just don't hear anything. That's really atypical. Like you don't hear that too often, because it's a really bold like thing to do, because you're just letting go of the groove. You're just sort of letting go of the beat, right? And I think it works because it's only about a beat or so. There's enough time. I mean, you can easily just like, and then when it comes back in on 1, it lines up perfectly.
Wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. 달리 표현할 수 없어 우리 마치 처음부터 알아온 것 같지 딱 맞지. Do you feel the same? My darling, come closer.
Okay, so yeah, this has like a real 80s pop type of groove to it. You have the punchy percussion, right? Accent on the 2, so you're getting that snare hit, boom, ta, boom, ta. And then right there in between the phrases, right? The sort of after that, do you feel the same? You hear this synth filled, right? Like, and that has all this 80s sort of quality to it, this 80s characteristic to it. So from real contemporary trappy type of percussion to straight up 80s pop, right? Like those two things tied together, very like an extreme change, right? An extreme change of course from what we initially started off with. But it sounds great. The bass in this part is particularly nice.
Do you feel the same? Let's cross the line, baby. I don't mind. 묻지마 내 마음. 나 지금 여기.
Okay, first for this first time around in this sort of pre-chorus section, I do hear the guitar now. I think in the later on when they're sitting in that orange room, I didn't hear. I heard more of the percussion there. But here we do have the upbeats and the rhythm guitar part, and the bass line here is like, it's such a every element has like shifted. So from the type of synth bass that we had going on that 80s type of pop groove for the verse section, now it's played bass guitar doing this really smooth like reggae style like lick, right? Like this is a really smooth bass line. And then we have the rhythm guitar being very percussive and including that upbeat rhythm that's in there. And the melody line and the vocal has completely changed now. Like there are very distinct sort of shapes for each section, right? From the beginning, right? And then the more sort of antecedent, consequent, those really nice sort of melody lines over that 80s pop sound. And then here it's complete, like everything shifts. Absolutely everything in the mix changes. Its rhythm patterns, its timbre, its voicing completely. Everything kind of changes here. And it's very strange how consonant it is. Like it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound like there's anything wrong with it. But we have dramatically changed from one style into another, like without any reservations.
Almost there. Hey, strange, gotta get to know ya.
So this part, it's interesting because the break in the song, it's this now we've gone through one entire like verse, pre-chorus, chorus, even from the intro, right? So we're coming back around to that point now. And with that very abrupt beginning, in other words, I'd have to listen to the album or the recording to see if all of this is in here, the lightning and, this sort of scene-based audio that we're getting here. Because it could work that way, or you could just go straight to the actual sort of hook sound, right? But it's just the idea of how it fits so well with the editing. If you're going to do the video, right, you start to have fun. You start to play around with this extra time that you kind of make for yourself or like cut out for yourself.
Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be an angel, gotta get to know ya.
So I hear that there's this wonky sort of synth bass that's going on in the left side, very sort of 80s, but more kind of intending to sound a little bit creepy, right? Same thing with those very dissonant keys sounds that's going on in the right. The piano sound that I hear is mostly panned to the right. There's a little bit of overlap, but it's so dissonant. It's a very weird sort of like shape. It's meant to be that way though. It doesn't feel unintentional. You know what I mean? This is very much like a sort of a Frankenstein-y type of concept, right? Like we're putting this together. Mad scientist blending these different elements into something that's going to take on a life of its own. It's pretty cool. Like I gotta say, it's really interesting, and it's very cool.
Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya.
So we kind of went from the Shining imagery to like the Omen here, the stairways and the sort of big like hall area, and then this scene out here. This reminds me of the Omen movie. I just noticed all of these overtones from the sort of like spooky movie, sort of the history of some of those horror movies that have been released. But it's a good use of these different visual, motives and sort of themes from that, right? Even the way these are put together. In other words, The Shining, It, Slender Man, The Omen, all these things like put together again, like sequentially, right? Like fitting these different things together and keeping generally within the conceptual realm or space, right? It's very clever. It's pretty cool.
뭐에 홀린 것처럼 마치 내 옆에 있던 것 같이 굴지. Do you feel the same? Let's cross the line, let me blow your mind. 알잖아 이 밤 잊히다 가면 you can stay. Hey strange, gotta get to.
Oh, keys. Okay, so we have kind of like organ sounding keys, but I hear that clap on the upbeats here in this section. It's keeps it interesting that there are little variations from one pre-chorus section to the next pre-chorus section. This is also true in the chorus sections. Each time that chorus comes back around, there's more stuff added to it, and it gets a little bit fuller. But it's such such weird composition. Like the way it's written is to be weird and to be kind of like dissonant and a little bit off-putting, create a little bit of tension, but not like too much, And it's just really kind of experimental. That's the feel of it, right? But it works. It was like an experiment that worked. It actually, produced something that you would want it to be, in other words. But her Sunmi's vocal delivery also changes, right? Her expression when it's the 80s sort of ballad type, there's sort of a softness to it, maybe even a little bit of melancholy, like a little bit of sadness to it. It has a very nostalgic sort of tinge, and she's doing that with a lot of her control of the dynamic level. There's some airiness in there. Here, there's a little bit more of a rich tone, right? She's putting more air behind this and getting a much more solid type of vocal resonance out on these lines. And it works against a stronger sound against this more like busy type of mix that's going on underneath it, especially with the shift again in the rhythm and the overall mix itself. Just the way that this changes in between sections is pretty wild. But she's able to adapt the right delivery, the right tone, the right dynamic level, the right expression as we move through the sections.
Oh, no, yeah. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, wanna be your angel, gotta get to know ya. Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya.
So in the beginning, all it was the vocal and the percussion, right? That's all it was. It was just Mr. Stranger running into danger, gotta get to know ya. Now it's that plus the keys, plus the synth bass that's going on, and I'd have to listen to it again, but I feel like some of the vocals have been, in other words, in the beginning, there was a certain type of compression and there was all this space, and I'm pretty sure there's more than one vocal track that's going on. So in other words, she's recorded this maybe a few different times, but I'm hearing more, like almost 3 different vocal sounds that are all layered together here. And it just, everything sort of expands out, right, from this very focal beginnings, right, the way that this song abruptly starts. But they've added a little bit more and a little bit more each time this comes back around. It's very smart. It's a novel approach to especially having this type of hook, something so deliberate, something that it's almost like it just cuts in to the other things that the song is trying to do, right? It starts to do this 80s pop thing. You're like, okay, and then all of a sudden, the reggae just takes over. It's okay, we're not doing that anymore. And then when this hook comes around, it just chops right in. It's like, hold on, whatever you were doing, just hold on, because I got to do this sort of spooky tango sort of thing for a minute here, okay? And it's like, but it works. I don't know, it's crazy. It's madness.
I don't know you're stranger, but I do love you, boy. 꽉 안아줘 긴 밤 다시는 못 볼 것처럼, baby. I don't care if we go all the way.
Cool. So the bridge section, man, it kind of goes back to that 80s pop feel. There's some nice arpeggios going on, like some guitar arpeggios when it first starts. She's got a little bit more of a flowy legato vocal part in the beginning, but in this section here, the percussion comes in and it starts to kind of intensify. It's laying down this very dance-like sort of beat that's going on, and her vocal kind of responds to that and follows it a bit in a very dance-like type of rhythm as well. So it is this almost like asking someone to dance, and starting the whole like interaction, the dynamic exchange between two people who are dancing.
I gotta get to know ya, Mr. Stranger, running into danger, gotta get to know ya.
Okay, that was the smoothest transition. See, okay, now this makes sense, because this is what this was working up towards. When we go from this bridge, back into that hook section, all in this rhythm guitar that's coming now. And it's that reggae style rhythm guitar, right? Very percussive, accenting the upbeats. But that one sound itself, just those chords, is going to smooth out all the space, all the between this sound and the next sound. And it's really, really genius stuff. This was so subtle that I didn't even catch it the first time, but this is really just like some big brain compositional stuff here, because this is so smooth. Also that percussive rhythm, boom ta ta boom ta boom ta. This is giving you it's indicating the rhythm for you, right? So when all other sound drops out and all we have is the vocal and then that guitar comes in, this is why it feels so right.
I gotta get to know ya, Mr. Stranger, running into danger. Gotta get to know ya, Mr. Stranger, running into danger. Gotta get to know ya.
The biggest chorus section, all these different sounds going on. Even the is another accent that gets thrown in there, right? It's another part that gets added. But that was incredibly wild, man. By the end of that, like, it's really smart, dude. Because the whole time from the beginning, when the way it starts, right? This song intro is like, okay, you're really sort of locked into this, right? This rhythm, this hook line, and everything, and it's giving you these, we're going to go way to the left here, and then we're going to go way to the right here, just in different directions, right? We'll take you through this 80s pop thing, and then I'll take you to this reggae sort of groove, and then I'm going to pause everything, and then I'm going to come back. But all of this is like signposting. It's all indicating and really setting you up for this last chorus section here. Between this bridge and the chorus, this last go around right here is the big sort of payoff, and the transition on that last go around was incredibly smooth, and everything is building its way up to that as sort of a finale, as sort of like the big sort of finish on it. And in this last section, this last chorus section iteration, we have like all these different things that are added to it. At the same time, all of the scenes that are going off, like, we've been shown these different settings and these different sort of character representations in the different ones. And in this last chorus, it's all coming to a head. It's all reaching a sort of a climax in as far as like the story that it's telling. There's all these bats flying around, and then the guys doing the spitting fire, and all these big elements, these bombastic, like, oh, this is the big scene in the movie, right? It's the big scene in the video, and it works right along well with the song, the actual composition of it. It accomplishes the same thing, showing you these different scenes, almost like a storybook of like scary stories or something, right? So here's one story, and there's another story, and there's another story, and then it's sort of like in the end, that one thing happens, and it turns out like one of the stories is real, and everybody's like, that's kind of like the feel of this. But it's very cool, man. It's really, really awesome. It's some fantastic composition for one. This is really cool. I'm very curious as to what the process was, because to me, when I hear this feels like it started off with the hook. They were like, okay, got this idea for a hook. It goes like this. Dun 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 dun. And then okay. Then somebody came up with like the pre-chorus. Okay, pre-chorus can go like this, Okay, and then the verse will sound like this, almost as if it was like reverse engineered or something, right? And it's very characteristic of like the what's going on here compositionally. I feel like this is the sort of Frankenstein put together type of song, right? But it works very, very well, especially for this type of concept too. It could probably work even outside of a like a spooky, Halloween themed type of production, but it just fits really well. I mean, this works really well together, so why not use it? Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm fading in and out and having all kinds of issues here, but what are you gonna do? That's just the way it is. But Sunmi Stranger, really, really interesting stuff, man. You know, in the end, because what I said in the beginning was, I'm wondering if this was going to follow trends or if it was going to do something a little bit more original, and it actually does both. Like, the hook idea, very contemporary, very modern, very like what's going on right now, 2020s type of sound, right? But the verse, taking it all the way back to the 80s, the pre-chorus having a sort of a reggae style, which has always been, the same. I mean, it's largely, right? So there were some things that, are sort of representative of both. Overall, the idea is quite original. I mean, if we're taking this as just this song, just, the ideas, the concepts within this, it's very, very original, but it actually did manage to pull from both very contemporary modern sounds and even sort of previously established type of sounds too, and bring them all together in this. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like modern mythology almost, even with the visuals and everything. These specific references, and I don't know all of them. I caught The Shining, The Omen, It. I think there was some like Paranormal Activity in there or something like that. But this, patchwork of all these different ideas, right, that are near each other, like they're sort of proximal, but musically it's very different. It's like this style and then that style and then another style, and underneath this though, like the composing mind behind this, very, very knowledgeable and very familiar with all these different styles of music, and just really very clever to be able to put all of them together in such a consonant way. It really is quite wild. It's like many different sounds that you would not intuitively think, oh yeah, these go together, I'll put these together. It is pretty bold. It's a pretty bold move, man. But very cool in the end. And Sunmi's sounds and looks incredible. I mean, just she's absolutely amazing. Yeah, it's wild. I watched the 24 hours video before I, because that being the one song that I do know, I'm like, okay, let me watch the video, because I've seen the choreography performances before, but a different setting when it's live and it's a cover, and you know what I mean, like it has its own type of feel to it. Watch the video, right, and listen to the songs. Oh wow, okay. Sunmi was definitely, the quintessential idol, right? I mean, there are things about that video too, if you watch it now. She's, I don't know, it seems very ahead of its time. There are things about it that actually feel more modern or more contemporary, as opposed to something that was going on in 2013 or whatever. But it's still very, very good. And then, I'm jumping to this now, and it's like, oh, she's gotten better. You know what I mean? Like, she was already like so good, and she's gotten better. She's doing some very interesting things here. And this is great. It's fun, it's interesting, it's not expected. You know what I mean? Like it manages to be something very different and new, but also something that just works so well, that there's no problems. There's no like there's nothing to resolve. Like when you listen to it, it's like, okay, yeah, this, I get it. Even though I kind of don't. I'm trying to figure out how these things all fit together, but in the end, they do, and it's very, very cool, man. Sunmi, Stranger. Okay, there's a ton of stuff that I still have to listen to from Sunmi, but we'll get there. We'll get there. And yeah, this was a good one. Stranger, very interesting, man. Like layers and layers of just clever ideas. Really, really cool.